Hello, hello, hello. Mic test, mic test, mic test. So, hello guys, and welcome to the 152nd edition of the Trading Opportunities webinar. We are quite a lot delayed here, almost an hour, I think. But finally, I'm here, and let's get done with the discussion of not discussion. I mean the introduction, and then we'll get started with the webinar. So this is the 152nd edition of our Trading Opportunities webinar. This is your host Nirav, and we do these weekly webinars every Friday, generally at 10 p.m. IST, 4:30 p.m. GMT, and today, as I said, we are late. Also, we have made some minor changes from this month of February. I'll be doing only 3 public webinars, and one webinar we'll be doing only privately for our private group members, right? And talking about the series of public webinars, so far we were conducting once every Friday or every week. So we are reducing that. Let's see what we have achieved so far in the past 149 webinars that we have conducted, all in front of you guys on YouTube as well as LinkedIn. We have captured a total of 379 trades. What happened with our last discussion, that is the 150. One second. This page isn't updated. Let me just correct that. So as I was saying, in the last 151 webinars, we have still to check what happened with the 151, but in the last 150 we have captured a total of 370 plus trades. I think 379 to be precise. One second. So what's happening here? It looks like some issue with the software for annotation. Let me just check. Give me a moment while I resolve the issue. And yes, I can see some comments here, but nobody has really confirmed if the audio and visual is all fine. By the way, at the current moment, you will just be seeing a photo of me and nothing more. Hmm. Hello. Mic test, mic test. Hmm. Well, that is weird. So we are having a very unprecedented technical issue here. Bear with me for 2 minutes. Let me see if I can resolve it. Otherwise, we'll just continue with what we have. Right, we are back in action. So the issue seemingly is resolved. Right, working. Right, sorry about the technical issue here. So now everything is fixed and I can see audio is working fine. Just confirm the video back again. We have the shared screen again displayed on the live stream. So just let me know if that is visible as well. And I'll just very quickly get done with this introduction. We have already wasted a lot of time here. So as I was saying, we have discussed 379 or caught 379 live trades in last 150 webinars, and what the usual things. There's a video course if you're interested in learning my method. There's also a book for called Think with the Markets for those of you who are interested in learning the intermediate to advanced concepts. That is, you have the basics clear. And lastly, there is a private Slack group. And as I just mentioned, we have decided to conduct 3 public webinars, and I'm currently planning to just do the last fourth webinar as private for the Slack group members. So you can send the request details, requesting, you can send the request for the details of this private Slack group from here. Right, and lastly, we have forecast accuracy for since when I started the channel and 2016, and you can see where it is. It's all documented here. Everything is discussed. I don't want to take any more time on this, and let's get started with the actual content. So first of all, let me just start off the last video for Euro USD. What we'll do is we'll discuss in the last video, and then we will check how the market progressed after that discussion. So here is the chart of Euro USD, and as I just mentioned, this is a discussion from our last public webinar. Let's see what was being said, and then we will proceed with the actual current market outlook. Right. So in the last webinar, let's just play the stuff here. And one second, I'll just check the comments here to see if everything is working fine. Good. So as I was saying in the last webinar, we were looking for corrective structure here, and let me just pause the video. We had a possible diagonal and then a ABC or WXY kind of correction. I think I'm taking it as a WXY. Right, there was a possibility that it will go and test the support level in this white box around 1.031 something, roughly speaking. I don't know the exact values here. Perhaps we have marked it, perhaps not. Yeah, so this was the count, and some more downside was expected on the counter of euro. And keep in mind, this webinar was conducted on 31st of January 2025. So now let's head over to the live chart of euro and take things forward from there. So here on screen, you have the live actual chart of euro currently trading, and let's check 31st, 31st, 31st. Where is 31st? 31st January. Here it is. Right. So here's the 31st January. Our idea was that we are expecting some more downside. Right. As you can see, the market didn't just go downside, it just went there with the big gap down, and so it went as per our analysis. So I will give this analysis +1 because we analyzed the expected what do you call downward movement, and that is how the market progressed. But anyways, that's history now, and as such, in a gap down, there's not that much you can do unless you have taken a swing position. I don't think I had a swing position on euro, right? So it's not like I was able to participate in this fall anyways. But there are some few important things that I noticed here. 1H. First of all, I think this was the trend line we were following. Yes, that is. So look at this. Even in the downfall, the market has given us a perfect movement, literally testing the trend line which we had drawn in our past discussion. This is a classic setup, classic price action setup. Break above the trend line, retest, pull back to the trend line, retest, and then take off. So this was a trade not to be missed. I have discussed this setup like so many times. We always like to see a classical setup play out in a conjunction with our Elliott Wave analysis. That just gives it so much more strength and gives us so much more confidence to get a bigger size position. Right. So that's about that perfectly playing out of perfect play out of our last webinar's discussion. Now let's check what I think of the market right now. Right now, what I believe is that possibly this market has completed a corrective structure here. So we are assuming that this market has given us a first leg up, a correction down, and then we are expecting possibility of or we expect that this market will again give one leg up, like at least an A up, B down, and C up. In this particular case, I am thinking more of a impulse, like a one up, two down, three up, but it doesn't really matter to us because overall we are looking or expecting this three up. Now let's try and figure out what this market is doing right now in this conjunction of impulse heading in the other direction. And before we even do that, here I just wanted to give you guys a quick glimpse in our Slack group. Those of you who are here who are obviously catching it all live. Is that yes, there it is. We were able to first of all predict the pullback here. We are expecting it to be complete, right? That's marked. Let's check the next chart. Here the market does take off above it, or that is sustained above the blue trend line. And let's check further. And here is the pullback developing into a possible diagonal. And my expectancy or my analysis was that we can see downward movement from here. So the setup was in detail explained in the group, but this was a general idea, right? Let's see what happened afterwards. Market continued a little bit up from there and then eventually broke through the white trend line, which gives us a very clear setup. And then the expectancy was that it will go down, up, and then down like a simple zigzag kind of structure. Could become more complex, but somehow it played out like that. And here it is, here it is. So we have literally captured this market on every step of this movement. We were able to capture this reversal, then predict this downward movement and even the formation of this downward movement along with targets. So when this was last posted, the market was taking support around the white support region, and it was posted a little bit like an hour ago from now. So that was it. Everybody on the Slack, who was in the Slack group, was able to check it, and this was the case, I think, with the crude oil, Euro USD, and gold, and S&P also. We were able to capture the moment. This week was exceptional on all fronts. We were able to capture the moments very precisely. So, anyways, now moving forward with our what you call. Let me just correct a few things before we move forward. Yes, so moving forward with our current analysis, as I just mentioned, we are looking for long setups here, and the idea was that the market will take support. And as you can see, the last thing that we were expecting was the market to take support in the white support region, and it is more or less there. So now the setup becomes rather clear. We want to see the market go take out the high. This will be the conservative setup. The market takes out this high 1.044. And if the market goes above this level, we will look for longs. I personally will try to add longs somewhere within this range, right? Because this is a resistance zone. So if the market sustains there, takes some time, like some sort of price activity like this, then I'll look to go long above this level. So basically, we don't have a clear setup other than this. The secondary setup, I think, which is a little bit more aggressive, is to look for longs within the price range of 1.03832. So what I'm gonna do is just push my alert there. So if the market goes there, then I'll just observe the price action and look for long setup. But other than that, I think yes, the most aggressive setup will be to add longs here and build up. Like if we are going to go long with 4 lots, we can add one here, perhaps two here, and then remaining two here, remaining one here. So that's the rough idea of how I will look to play this market. And here, as you can see on screen, the counts and everything, and analysis is here. It's all working out so far. So let's keep this market in our watch list, just as it has given us trades in the past few days or this week. I am hopeful that it will give us even better trades. So I'll just take the comments at this point, and if you guys have any doubts or questions, now will be the time to ask me. Good morning, Louis. Hello, Mohammed and Dawood. And Joe is saying, everyone, hello. Hope you are doing fine today. Audio is clear. Thank you, Joe, one of our private Slack group members, for the confirmations there. And of course, Louis. And of course, Raghu, our private Slack group member. And Marco, of course, again, our members here. Right. So there, I think, is a question. Let's check that. Can this market still go for another X, then Z? Well, it can do that, as I just discussed. But as I said, it doesn't really matter, Joe, because even in that case, let me just, even in the case of a Z, you look for a zigzag. A up, B down, and C up. And even in this case, which we are assuming as 1 up, 2 down, and 3 up, we are still looking for another leg up. Look, for instance, this is the first leg up, coincides with the A, correction coincides with the B, and C up. Right, so it is kind of not really an issue at all. It can do whatever it wants to do, but we are expecting it like this. The only issue I can see is that if the market sustains below this support region expected around 1.02986, below this level, we can say that probably the market is doing something else, and I will probably have to reanalyze the market and look for different possibilities. Yeah, but other than that, everything is cool here. We think we have a possibility of a very strong setup here in the coming sessions. Well, you're welcome, Joe. So I don't see any further questions. So in that case, I'll just move ahead with our discussion of crude oil. So here's the discussion from our last webinar, which was conducted on 31st last month. And let me just check what was being said about this chart. So we were looking at it as a possible impulse, and I believe I was considering it as a nested impulse. And the idea was that from here, we are going to see at least 2 legs down minimum. Right, that was the idea. I don't know what I'm showing there, but yeah, the idea was basically that from the last discussion when the market was trading around 73.16 something, we were expecting that this market will give us at least 2 legs down, right? So I'll just minimize the screen. You can check the whole analysis yourselves. And with that being said, let's now head over to the live chart. Here on screen now we have the live chart in front of you. And before discussing the live chart, again, I think this week, yes, we had trades. We were taking trades on crude oil. Let's see what were the trades. Here is the trade which was entered when we were conducting the last webinar before we started the webinar. 73.97 in booked profits. That was, I think, discussed in the last webinar. So here are the trades from this week. I did shorts, booked profits on all shorts. And this was the updated view. We were expecting a diagonal. So this was also projected here in the group. Where did we catch this? So we were able to predict the possibility of a diagonal even before the market was at 73. You can see it in the last post. We were discussing the possibility of a diagonal, 3rd February. Book profit on shorts and some further commentary and some further projections, etc., etc. Yes, so we were able to capture this move as well live somewhere around here. I posted it in the Slack group. that we are expecting a diagonal formation, and so far it has played out beautifully. Again, those in the private Slack group were already there watching it live, and even if you were not in the private Slack group, we discussed in the public webinar in the last week that we are expecting two legs lower from here. The date of the public webinar was 31st of January, so somewhere here we were discussing it. And since then, the market has given us one leg down till here, and then this is the another leg down, right? So our forecast, although the count was different, has played out eventually, right? So now let's look at. By the way, this one also goes as a what we will call in our terminology of analysis as +1. That is, it worked out, so it increases our counter to what is it? 381 trades in the last 151 webinars. Anyways, that will be updated in the description of the video once the webinar is complete. Now let's look at what this market is probably doing. First of all, I think from this point of reference, which is the price level around 80.65 something something. I personally think that this market is or should have completed the leg here. That is, this should have been a possible diagonal, which will then be followed by an upward movement, perhaps taking the market to new high. That was the expectancy. However, it does not look like that this market has done that or is going to do that. What I mean by that is we want to see some sort of sign of strength before this market is assumed to take off rally. So the sign of strength would generally be that this market takes support above the trend line, and it should do so in a little bit of more convincing manner. That is, perhaps if the market had gone up, taken out some resistances like at least the last known high 72.24. Let me just highlight it here. This one, perhaps even this one, that would have been something worth considering it. Right now, only thing we have is a count, and as you already know, counts can change. Right, so I'm not basing my trades just on this evidence, at least as of yet. So now we need to analyze what possible expectancy we can have from this counter. One thing I'm thinking is that there is a possibility this market is just still forming some sort of structure, perhaps a little bit different kind of structure. We are assuming it as a what do you call a diagonal structure complete here. Who knows? Maybe this is just the wave one of the whole impulse. That is, there are two more legs remaining. That's one possibility. Another possibility is a little bit more complex formation, which I would not like to discuss here. But if we just go with a simplistic possibility, we can say that this market may give us 3, 4, and then 5 here. That is a simplistic view, which is suggesting that further more downside can be seen here. And as such, even if I do look for shorts, I will only be doing scalp shorts here because of the fact that my count suggests that this market could very well give a reversal from here. And generally, where there is smoke, there is fire. I don't know if the analogy fits here. Just kidding, it does. So, anyways, my point here being that we are not very keen on taking short trades for swing position. Even if I do take short trades on a swing position, it will be a very small position. And while I'm interested in long trades here, we don't have enough evidence. So for the long trades, we don't want to take any position at all as long as the market is at least below 72.24. So only above this level will we be interested in taking long trades. That's my quick take on crude oil. This market kind of requires a little bit more attention than your other normal markets. I would suggest you do your own analysis in this one. I mean, do your analysis in every market, but here be a little bit more cautious. The trade setups are going to be there, but they are not going to be very simple for or beginner friendly, I would say. Hello, Manuel, one of our regular viewers. Right, so I'll wait a few moments here. If you guys have any doubts or questions, you can just post them in the live chat. Let me know how's my pace here. Am I going too fast, too slow? And yes, guys, as I do say in every other webinar, we do a lot of work here. It takes a lot of time. This week was very hectic, and even by the time of this webinar, the regular time of 4:30 p.m. IST, I was still working. So kindly show some effort here and do share the content so that we can reach the right level of audience and the right people who can appreciate our work more, and I can continue producing these webinars as such. Right, so hit the like and share the content. That's a quick request before we head over to our next chart of gold. Bit fast for me. I'll watch the replay as usual. It's good of you, Joe. So looks like everyone else is not having any issues. Again, very good. In that case, we are now going to head over to our chart of gold. Here is the discussion from our last webinar, and let's see what was being discussed so that we can then proceed with our live chart. As such, I believe we were expecting bullish activity, or we were looking out for bullish setup. That much I recall, and that is evident here. We were looking for one leg up and then another leg up. That was the count back then. Here's the count in a little bit more magnified format. Series of nested impulses, and we are expecting nested 3 of 3, dot 3 of 3, I can say. Yeah, there it is, dot 3 of this 3 of higher degree. Again, watch the whole thing in your own time. I'm just here giving you a quick idea. And the price at the time of discussion was 28.10. Expectancy was upside. Let's now head over to the actual chart and see how things have progressed since then. Here's the live chart on screen in front of you. 31st January. There it is, 31st January. And the market has given us one leg up. Actually, technically, we can say two, but it has gone up, which is the general expectation we had from this market. And with that, we have a total tally of 3 of our discussions from last webinar, giving us 3 trades. All have played out so far. Euro USD went down, crude oil went down, gold went up as per analysis, right? So basically, I think if we have S&P and BTC, we will have 100%. Actually, we had 100% week from a trading perspective in our private Slack group. But let's see what the public analysis proved. Anyways, so let's see what the counts are suggesting now. As per counts, we are expecting a wave for correction here. So let's see. 3, 4, 5 years. So we can take our point of reference here. Where's that? So we can take the point of reference here, starting point of this analysis. Let me change. Let's keep it as it is. How is white or yellow? Which one do you prefer? I think white is a little bit too black and whitish. Let's go with CN color. So from this point of reference, price level is 2770, and we are expecting an impulse in the upward direction. And impulse, if you are not very familiar with the Elliott Wave, is simple progression like one second. Yes. So impulse is a simple progression which looks like this. We have the 1 up, we have the 2 down, we have the 3 up, 4 down, and the 5th up. Right. In this particular case, from this point of reference, we seemingly have already got the 1 up here, 2 down here, 3 up here. And one can argue that Perhaps the four was complete already, and perhaps the fifth is complete. But I'm going to assume in this particular case that the four is possibly progressing here, and possibly we'll have an up leg here. So that makes me bring my alert level to around 2880, and the setup now becomes that if the market is going to go above 2880, then we will look for long setups here. That's basically how the count has now become, right? This is kind of a generalistic idea. The second idea will be that if the market goes below 40, let's say, so below 2840, we will have to assume that something else might be going up, and we will possibly look for bearish possibilities, right? That is the general interpretation I have from this counter or of this counter. And I think that is kind of the main or quick view. As such, for those of you who are in the private Slack group, they were already able to see all these projections in live market. Let's see. So here are the posts. We were expecting correction for wave 4 when the market turned 2863. Continued the correction. We were looking at wave 4 in plain real live market, and then once the wave 4 was complete, we were expecting upward movement above the green channel. This was all posted live in the Slack group along with multiple other posts, obviously. So I don't think there is much to add here. I'll just wait a few moments here if there are any doubts or questions. Yes, so there's a comment from Marco. Technique is as difficult as psychology. Well, if you know the proper technique, psychology kind of reduces down to 5-10% of the requirement actually. Right? Psychology is generally something that only comes into play when you already have a winning strategy, to be honest. So pay attention on the technique on Elliott Wave first, Marco. Second is from Joe. If the point of reference can't be put at the lowest point around, well, point of reference is a fluctuating thing, Joe. I think you have read the book. So every single chart have like everything is a point of reference. If I want to discuss this wave 4 correction in play, then I'll take this as our point of reference. It's a shifting concept. Again, just refer back to Think with the Markets. I know you have read it, so just refer back to it. And I don't want to go very deep into the higher time frame point of reference because then the complex discussion will be needed to discuss and it will become very lengthy, and we are already quite late today. Right? It will not be today in 30 minutes. It will be midnight here anyways. So I don't want to dwell too much into it, but the post for the high time frame is already posted in the Slack group, so you can just check it there. I guess with that we have discussed the doubts, possible doubts, and I'll just like to now head over to our next chart of S&P's 500, and let's first of all go and check what was being discussed in the last webinar on the chart of S&P. So here is a discussion from last webinar, and that was a very lengthy discussion. Started around 29 and went till 43. Anyways, let's see what was being discussed here. So it looks like we were looking for bullish setup in our last webinar. Specifically, I remember we had a retest of the trend line. Yeah, there it is, the retest of the trend line, the classic setup for a strong buying, a strong possible buying. And let's see what else is being discussed here. We were just looking for a bullish setup, I think. I mean that much is known, but I don't think we discussed much of anything short term other than this bullish flat kind of structure. Anyways, market was trading around 61.19 back then, and we were looking for more upside. And I can't find anything more. Maybe there is some more specific discussion because this is a very lengthy discussion, but I don't seem to be able to find it right now. So I'll just move over to the live chart. So here on screen we have the live chart from our last after our last discussion. Last discussion was on 31st January. Somewhere here, the price was when we discussed the market live, and we were expecting more bullishness. I think the setup was that possibly one here and two is, let's see, yes. And one thing I'm not sure if I mentioned it publicly because this was very fast. We were expecting one more leg to pair it with, but who knows what I discussed in the public webinar. I'll personally like to be very certain of what I say as much as possible, at least. So let's check for, yes, there it is. So we did discuss this possibility. So here is the discussion. We were expecting one up, two down here, or we were expecting that the two is still continuing. Here it is. I mentioned it at least. So that is, we were expecting this downward movement still. That was one of the possibilities. Although now let's look at the live chart and see what's going on here. So as you can see now, the market did go and test both, test this trend line two times, right? And with testing it two times, it has given us even more certainty. Here's a member of our private Slack group, Raghu. Made profits on the bullish setup 60-22, 60-80. You're welcome, Raghu. Now what we'll do is we'll also try and have a look at the trade actually. Well, since it's mentioned, let's just quickly have a look at it before actually discussing the live chart further. So here is the trade on S&P where it is booked profits on all longs. Let's check the entries and everything. Where is the long? Yeah, there it is. Added longs 59.10 stop loss. So the entry is 6,000 almost, 6002 to be precise. Added more longs at 6037. Some intermediate analysis. Stop loss moved to 5975. Booked profit on all longs. That ones will look for re-enter later or on pullback, whatever the commentary was. So profit booked at 6062. So original entry was 6002 and the profit is booked at 6062. So we have captured a total of 60 points from our first entry and something less than that from our second entry. This was all, of course, posted live, and I mean, what else is there to say? Anyways, so with that being said, let's now discuss our analysis further. Yeah, guys, one more thing here. If you missed my request, as I have said so many times, these webinars do take a lot of time and energy. The analysis I come up with is not always that simple and straightforward. It sometimes takes a lot of time to come to these conclusions, and even sharing it here publicly in these public webinars is not something I consider should be actually free. So while I'm doing it for the sake of getting more audience, and as such, we are running it as a business. And in alignment with that, I made the announcement in the introduction part that we will be moving from 4 to 3 webinars, and one will be conducted privately every month now. But anyways, my point being, if you are liking the content, enjoying it, first of all, the straightforward route is to become a member, and first a student and then a member, so that you are able to follow my posts. Secondly, if you are not interested in becoming a member at this point, your contribution is definitely required by hitting the like button and sharing the content with the live circle that you have of traders, or group, Discord, Slack, WhatsApp, whatever you guys use. That is important because we have conducted what, 151 webinars complete, and this is the 152nd, and our views have not really consistently crossed 1,000. As a matter of fact, very few webinars have crossed it. And I mention it in every other webinar, but as I said, in this at this point in time, I've already decided to reduce my exposure publicly and focus more on the group members who have actually made a serious commitment, right? So if you want to see these webinars coming in, or me covering further more markets, then you need to show the support at this point. Otherwise, we are already transitioning from complete public to a little bit private, and that is a general route everything should take. If you are enjoying the content, if there is value, then you need to be serious about it as well. If not, then what's the point, right? So kindly take the request seriously, do your part. Otherwise, I will have nothing left to come up with these webinars. We'll have to reduce from 3 to 2, or so on and so forth, right? I don't know any other marketing method than word of mouth, which is that good. Anyways, leaving all that apart, here is the S&P chart. Let's see what is really happening here. I'm not very pleased with the way this market has progressed so far. In terms of this diagonal, we were previously considering it as a possible impulse in the upside direction, and I personally was thinking of taking longs. I waited a little bit. I was a little bit cautious, you can say, and a little bit more distracted with some other markets and other things. So I did not take this, and there was this pullback, which suggests to us that possibly this market is doing something else, as such a diagonal comes to mind. So as I said, I'm not very pleased. That is, I'm not very sure if this is going to play out as a diagonal. If it does, then we can say that some sort of two has completed here, and then we have this, we have one here, two here, possibly the three here, four here, and then there will be a fifth. That's the expected progression on the diagonal structure. Right, the setup is very simple and clear. We look for longs above 6097, roughly speaking. And if we look for longs above 6097, they will be very small or scalp longs, because the upside target then becomes this trend line, right? This is the upside target level. So once we are already around 6097, the upside target is around 6118, or 20 roughly points, right? So not very big. I mean, 20 is a big number anyways, but we generally like to play what you call half to one third of what we can take. So if we are possibility, if there's a possibility of having 30 points, we'll look to capture around 15 points or perhaps 10 points, right? So keeping that in mind, the safe zone will be not that big. And S&P, yeah, as I said, I'm just interested in scalp longs at this point, because even if this count is playing out from here on, we expect bearishness. And if this is the count or not, that also is not very much confirmed. That's just a primary hypothesis I have, right? The secondary, tertiary, or any other kind of hypothesis that we come across, I will obviously share them in the private group as we come across those things and hypotheses, right? So for the time being, scalp is a setup, and keep it in your watch list. Perhaps wait a little bit. It probably will give us swing trades, but not right now. It's a wait and watch kind of market. With that being said, we are done with this analysis. Unless there are some doubts or questions in the live chat, just post them very quickly. And while you do that, I'll now take the chart of BTC, and with that, we'll conclude the webinar. And yeah, one thing I was thinking of adding one more chart, and personally, I'm thinking we can do fluctuating markets, whatever markets I think are having some good probabilities. Any of the high volume markets like the foreign indices we can cover. But this week, as I said, was very busy and did not have time to thoroughly go over anything. So this week we don't have it, but probably next or next to next week you can expect surprise markets, or what you call last section featuring a new market in these webinars. Right. So here, let's check what was being said about the chart of BTC in our last discussion. Let's quickly move the webinar a little bit forward and see what's being said. So BTC, I think we are looking for some sort of bullish setup in our last webinar, which was conducted on 31st, right? And with that, we can we can say that we were looking for some upside possibilities, basically in this counter. Price, let's check, was 104,745. Now let's look at the live chart. So here on screen, we do have the live chart, and let's see what was said and what really happened. So 31st January would be somewhere over here. So we were of the assumption that this is some sort of 1 and 2 and this can take off, right? Nothing like that happened. So that means we need to consider new possibilities and project a new possible hypothesis. Obviously, all of this was covered in the live private Slack group in the live posts. And what is happening here? Let's see. We are assuming from this point of reference that this market is having what you call first leg here, what you call an A wave, B wave, C wave, and D wave, and E wave. That's just one of the hypotheses, but it kind of looks very strong here. So I'm assuming it as the major hypothesis or the main hypothesis. So what I'm really projecting here is the possible triangle structure. In a triangle, the first leg down, we'll call it as the A, and so on and so forth goes the nomenclature. In this case, we are already assuming that we are near the C, and hence we expect the wave D to give us a structure something like this, a possible zigzag kind of structure, up, down, and then up. So we have the first leg up complete of the possible D, and the correction is complete here, and the next leg up is the one we are expecting, right? Something like this is what we are expecting. So this leg is remaining. That basically means we can just put or look for a breakout long setup here. What is it? 1015,990. So somewhere above it, we can say that we can have at least scalp longs. But do keep in mind, even if this count is playing out, this market can go a little bit up and then again have a pullback for the wave E. We are following the wave D here, then the E can again give a fall. So far, what we can simply say, even if we ignore all this, is that this market is range bound. This is the bigger range. In the bigger range, we are possibly in a smaller range here, which we can represent by this new box. Again, we know the lower bound of this new box, the upper bound is not yet known. Generally, the upper bound will at least go higher than this last high of 102637. That is quite obvious because we are expecting a zigzag kind of correction, but generally there is no limitation. It can actually test the last high as well, the wave B high. Possibly give a running structure for the triangle. But anyways, without going what do you call barrier structure, I should be more precise here. Barrier structure for the triangle is possible, right? But without going into too much technicality, basically we are saying is that this market is kind of range bound with the downside range somewhere here and upside range near the high, right? So stay a little bit cautious. I do expect not swing, but what you call scalp setups here, which can play out quite nicely. Will possibly avoid swings here. Although if the whole structure completes, it can take off quite fast. It is very much sort of set up for a rally. We are just waiting for the confirmations here. Well, with that being said, I hope you enjoyed the content, and I do hope that if you enjoyed it, you will consider sharing it. Right? I have asked already 2 times in this webinar, so not much point repeating the same thing again and again. And from here on forth, as I just discussed, we will be conducting one webinar privately every last Friday of the week, let's say. So if you are interested in all that stuff, you already know what the link is to send require what do you call inquiries for our private Slack group. And if you're enjoying the content, do the bare minimum and share it with your friends, colleague, and circles, right? Trading circles, I mean. I'll just very quickly check the last comments here and see if there was anything. So XRP, yes. As a suggestion, Luis is suggesting XRP. As such, I have not considered anything to be specific, and I still have to check the suggestions made by the private Slack group members. Some were suggesting Nasdaq, S&Ps, not counterparty, part of kind of S&P, or it influences S&P a lot. There were suggestions for FTSE and Hang Seng as well, but probably I'll just not take anything as like any one market. I'll just keep it fluctuating so that we get new viewers from around the world. That's the whole point of having a new market, anyways, right? And you too, Louis. Have a good weekend. You're very welcome, Joe. You're welcome, Dawood and Raghu. Right. So that's about it. And yes, we have a plan for starting a batch for training program LT in February last week. So those of you who are left out because I did not make it a public announcement yet, they can send the inquiries quickly. Right. That's it. I think it has been a long time since we started a batch. And with that being said, I think we are at the end. And yes, you're very welcome, Marco. With that being said, take care, guys, and I'll see you guys in our next webinar. Bye.